We're going to look at the top comic book sales on eBay for September. We're going to go to the top 12 because there's some real interesting books on the list, and there are some old friends as well. And there's one maybe a little bit suspicious. Let's take a look at the list. Up next on this video from Bronzeville Comics. Hello, panelologists. This is Jim from Bronzeville Comics coming to you with another video. And before we get started, like, comment, subscribe. Look in the description for links to all the fun stuff that I have going on. eBay store, email, Instagram, whatnot. I just want to jump into this top. I'm doing a top 12 list, as a matter of fact. So let's just jump right into the list. I'll go with one honorable mention, and this is hilarious. This is a copy of Deadpool #4, just a random Deadpool book with the Hulk, not even graded, and they had it listed for $199,920.29. Comic Card Game Annex. This book actually sold well over what it should have. Somebody sent in a best offer of $20.29. So listen, they knocked $199,900 off the ask price. Looks like they have another one available. I guess it didn't go through. What else do they sell all their items? No. Why do they have that listed for $190? Maybe just to get attention. I don't know about like the games. Maybe these prices are somewhat reasonable, but they're not $199,000 in retail. Like here, CGC 9.8 for Deadpool 1, that's high. Ultimate Fallout 4 second printing, that's high, but it's not like completely out of control. Anyway, I want to get to the top books, so let's look at that. So let's go to, which it came in at number 12, and this is interesting. It's a Golden Age comic, which is always interesting. And it's also interesting in terms of its price. It is a copy of Submariner Comics from 1941, Timely Comics, in a CGC 6.0 conserved grade. Asked $17,000. They had a best offer accepted of $14,500. And just let's take a look at this book. Now, conservation includes interior reinforced, staples replaced. They didn't do much else with it. It doesn't say cover cleaned or anything like that. So maybe it's just the staples were, I can't tell. Let's look at the back cover. Wow, it's not even cleaned. It's conserved, but it doesn't look like it was pressed. But conservation is going to have to be done at a professional level. And it's just very strange that, look at that. That's not cleaned and pressed. Weird. There we see a little bit better, the conservation. So I'm not sure if this is a Bill Everett cover. But at any rate, $14,500 for conserved 6.0. So let's take a look at this book. Now, the fair market value is 6.0. A year ago, one sold for $31,000. A 6.5 just sold for $31,000. And a 4.5 in the last year sold for $19,800. Not quite 50% off, maybe 40% plus discount. For it being conserved. I think it was, the fact of the matter is, man, if this was conserved better, it probably would have gotten a higher grade. Probably would have gotten a 7, maybe. I think if you clean and press it, there's not a lot wrong. It's hard to tell with this copy. When was it conserved? Recently. Well, let's see if we can CGC census this. 4435-16-2001. 4435-16-2001. Conservation include interior for staples replaced. Chip out of top left to front cover. Ink lift left center front cover. Creasing to cover. Interior reinforced. Small multiple tear spine. Staples replaced. And we're going to get a better picture here. We can see there's a piece missing up there. But other than that, the book looks really nice. Could you get a 7 out of this? Because look at this back. The back actually looks better in this picture. Look, that looks different. That looks much different than, that's weird. That looks very weird. It looks much different than the picture in the eBay listing, the back cover. Maybe it's just the lighting, but that definitely looked not cleaned or pressed. What do you think of that? Let me know in the comments. That definitely doesn't look cleaned or pressed. But here, that definitely looks. So I'm not going to belabor that. Anyway, pretty cool book, maybe 40% off. And it's an Alex Schomburg cover, which is going to give it extra. Now, I'm completely in favor of professionally conserving Golden Age books. Otherwise, they're going to fall apart over time. If they can be deacidified and, reinforced so that they will last for decades more, I am not opposed to that at all if they need it. So, that becomes a question for conservators. And if you follow other channels like Liberty Hill Comics and Jerry the Jitterbug, they do great conservation work and have great discussions about the why, the what, the how, all that sort of stuff. I want to jump into number 11 on the list, which is a copy of Superman number 14. Now, this sold through my comic shop. They're asking $19,100, and it sold for $16,300. If you go through their website, you probably get a little bit better. This is a classic cover of Superman in an 8.0. So that is, and I love this cover because DC used it on Superman Salutes the Bicentennial Treasury Edition, which I bought as a kid, which was a complete cover buy because Superman's on the cover and the interior are all Tomahawk reprints. But what I did was I would trace this pose over and over again, without the eagle, obviously, for all onto loose leaf paper or whatever paper I had, and recolor it with markers for different superhero costumes. And I had them all over my wall as a kid. So anyway, I didn't trace over Superman 14. It was the Treasury. So let's see. This is an 8.0 that we said sold for $16,300. 8.0, 16,300. That's the last sale. That looks to be in line. This doesn't sell a lot. A 6.5 sold recently for $9,600. A 7.0 for $14,500. Not a bad deal. 16.5 is, I would have, 18,000 at fair market value is probably a little bit better as you're making the jump here, up a full grade point and also a very steep grade point, right? We're talking an 8.0 on the census for this book is the top 11.3%. There are only 9 in grade and only 12, 13, 14 higher. So a very elite copy of this book. And if you're a Superman collector, let's go to what actually made the top 10. And a lot of this, of course, Amazing Fantasy number 15, Stan Lee signature, CBCS 3.0 has this new CBCS label. I'm not sure. And it does. Now here's the tricky part, right? Let's take a look here. It comes through as here. And you don't see it right away. Restored, very up in the corner right there. Verified signature, Stan Lee on first page, and they show that here. I guess they did that before they encapsulated the book, took the picture. Amateur restoration includes small amount of color touch on cover, right edge of front cover trimmed. No coming back from that. So you can't resubmit. You can see how it's the interior pages stick out more than the front cover. So that is no bueno. But still pretty cool. Yeah, you can see it more clearly here. Right edge of front cover trimmed. That is unfortunate. Slight amateur. You can't do anything about it. CBS 3.0 restored. Did someone pay too much for this? Okay, so let's look at 3.0 blue label, about $27,000 fair market value. A 3.0 Stan Lee signature. We're going to assume that most of these signatures are Stan Lee. $11,000 for a recent sale, a very recent sale within the last year, and $8,000 for a 4.0 signature series. Now there aren't a lot of those. Now restored 3.0. A restored 2.5 just sold for $10,800. So you kind of have competing ideas there. 16.5. I think what happened is, and let's take a look at the actual listing. The verbiage. It does say restored yellow, no reserve. Okay, so they were upfront about it. It does say CGC. I guess doesn't say it in the description. They just threw it at the end. So people who are looking for CGC would do that. Stanley have first page signature, verified signature with some restoration. Okay. So yeah, do you think that's a good deal or not? I'm not sure. Because you have those two yin yang things of signature Stan Lee versus restored. And also CBCS. If there was non-restored with the signature, I think this would be an idea of cracking this out. Let's go to number 9, and we're not going to go far afield. We're going to be going to Amazing Fantasy 15, a 4.0 restored. Now, this is restored with no signature, and it's a CGC. Restoration includes tear seals to cover top edge of cover trimmed. Can't come back from that. Okay, so a 4.0 restored for Amazing Fantasy 15. This sold for, I didn't write it down. What did this sell for? It was $18,000. I did write it down just on the wrong line. $18,000. So like a regular 4.0 is just sold for $31,000. So more than 50% of that value. Let's see what restored 4.0s. And they're different restored, right? There's professionally restored, and then there's trimmed versus non-trimmed. But yeah, one just sold for $12,000. One sold for $7,000. A $16,000 sale of a 3.5 and a $9,000 sale of a 4.5 about a year ago. 18,000 is healthy. 18,000 it's a lot for this. That's a lot. One other person has this in their cart. Did this actually sell? Listing sold. It's a vetted seller. It's a lot of money, 18,000 for this. And I think that was, let me just see with that. I used this site 130point.com. Amazing Fantasy 15. This is a little bit of a hint of what's coming up. Where is my AF15? Maybe I didn't put it in. Oh, no. Maybe I missed this one and it shouldn't be here. I don't know. There it is. No, it sold for 18,000. Wow. Good for the seller. I would say this was good for the seller. Let's go to number 8. Now, this is the interesting one. Superman number 1, CGC 1.0, amazing condition, unrestored. I mean, it exists, so that makes it amazing. A 1.0, an old 1.0. And spine of cover and first rack completely split and detached. Staples missing. Piece reattached, small piece of tape on interior back cover. So, and brittle pages. But it's Superman friggin' 1. And there's only 2 pictures. There's not even a picture of the back cover. So, let's see. A Superman 1.0 sold a year ago for $114,000 at 0.5 for $84,000. Seems too good to be true, especially when Pell.io 1982 has 1 feedback. Let's take a look at what that is. Where do we get their feedback? They have a page for $12,000. You're going to sell a page of Superman 1 for $12,000 and the whole thing for $20,000. Feedback. Let's see. Quick response and fast payment. So he paid for a couple of items. Who knows what he bought? Not important. I think this is not real. This didn't happen. There's no way that a Superman 1 actually sold for $20,000, right? And I want to see the description. This is malarkey. Out of this world copy, unrestored of the legendary Superman number 1 CGC 1.0. Dude, you have a 1 rating. Don't, and there's no way this sold for that. I don't know. Actually, let's take a quick look. I'm going to have to edit this. 121, 321, 1001. Let's see if this is sold previously. If we can find it. Yeah, $90,000. Staples missing, 20,000. Even if the staples are missing, I'm sorry, folks. I'm not buying it. You know, the staples will sell for $20,000 for crying out loud. No, I'm not seeing the. Yeah, there's no way a 1.0 sold for $20,000, like a complete copy. I mean, back in 2015, a 0.5 sold for $23,900, and pages only are selling for thousands. Yeah, I don't see this having sold on Heritage. Listen, $20,000. I mean, not for nothing, but to have it in. This, I think, if this were real, and there's no way that this guy actually sold this book for $20,000. Why would you only sell it for $20,000? This would be, I think, a good conservation candidate, because you're going to conserve this. You could get this leaf cast and all cleaned up, everything reattached, you know, and get a high, like maybe a 3. You know, it would be a conserved grade, and you get the gray bar up at the top. But man, to preserve this. But anyway, let's move on. Do we think that's real? Let me know in the comments. Let's go to number 7 on the list. Another Amazing Fantasy 15, another restored one. This had a best offer accepted of $22,750. It is a 7.0, cream to off-white pages, and restoration includes color touch pieces added, tear seals, cleaned and reinforced. No trimmed. The cleaned, and you can't really do much. And it is nice. I mean, this is, I'm wondering why this is, oh, it's the color touch. If you could remove the color touch, you'd probably get this to, I mean, look at this. Like the staple looks really nice there and there. I mean, it's a nice looking book. So this sold for, what did I say? $20,500. Let's take a look at this book in a, what grade? No, I need to look at the grade. In a 7.0 restored. So we're just over 20 grand for this book in a 7.0. Regular 7.0, over $100,000. Wow. So restored 7.0 just sold for 14. This is 20,000 for 5, which is about right. Man, that is an incredible discount. I mean, you're talking about what, 80% off? It doesn't have this sale as verified in the 7.0 restored. There was a $5,300 copy. Well, maybe it picked up this one. It's 24.5. But my records, the 120point.com had this as selling for 20,500. I think this is the same one that sold to Comic Connect for 13 during the height of the comic boom. But here's the thing with this, right? Would it be worth it to remove the color touch and get it conserved? I don't know. I mean, it just looks so nice as it is. I wouldn't worry about that. You know, it is an Amazing Fantasy 15 that looks really nice that you got for $20,000. The restored with the color touch is a little, I don't know. I'd like to see this in hand to see exactly, you know, how color touched it is. And it's been that way for quite a while. What do you think? Is conserved going to be better than, especially for a Silver Age book like this, than high grade? Is conserved going to be better than restored? It would just basically mean getting rid of the color touch. Let's go to number 6. And this book is kind of interesting. It is X-Men #1, Blue Label 6.5. Okay, no restoration here. This was 24,000, sold for 20,950. So there we see the book. There's a straight on view, and it's been in this case for a while. Now, is this? I think this could be a CPR candidate. I mean, I think a lot of this is dirt. I don't think it's been pressed. I mean, look at that. I think that could be cleaned up. I'd have to look at the graders. I mean, look there. It looks like that could benefit from a press there and there. Huh. That might be a good one. So let's take a look at 6.5s and let's see if we get like a bump up to even a 7. Is that tanning? I think that's tanning more than dirt, but again, you could probably get this cleaned up. So let's see a 6.5. This sold for 21,000, just under. So 6.5, 24,500. So somebody got a pretty good deal on this. You know, now you're looking, yeah, could you bump it up to a 7 and get a little bit of a boost? You probably need to get it up a full grade from 6.5 to 7.5 for it to be really worth the submission, the resubmit. That's what I think. So, but still a really cool book to have in the collection. And I think they got a pretty good deal on it. Let's go to number 5. This one is really interesting. Also 6.5, Eerie Comics, number 1 from 1947. This is the first horror comic book, and it has this gorgeous cover. I mean, this cover is just incredible. Joe Kubert and Bob Fujitani art. I don't know if Kubert did the cover or not. Avon Comics. I mean, this is just iconic. Absolutely iconic because of its first horror comic book bondage cover. Its place in comic book history is undeniable. Nice copy. Begins with 3 on the cert number. I don't think it's a CPR candidate at all. Looks like it cleaned up pretty nice. I mean, maybe. I think that's more. It's hard to tell in the light that we have here. So this sold for $21,000. Let's take a look at where that is. A 6.5. It's hard to tell. I mean, 21,000. This book comes up so infrequently. Look at this. Nothing since a 9.0 and an 8.0 a year ago. And listen, pre-code horror books have been on the rise. Let's see if we have anything better on GP analysis. Eerie Comics number 1. Because they will include like best offer accepted. They bring in some other information. They just have it as Eerie number 1. Avon. So the 6.5 here, they have the $21,000 sale. Not a lot. I mean, look at this. Nothing. A 9.2 Promise, that's out of league. A 3.0 for 3,700, a 2.0 for 2,600. So you really have to extrapolate quite a bit to get from 2.0, 3.0 all the way up to 6.5. I think that this is just going to go what it's going to go for. People that want this book, you see it. Yeah. If this is on your want list, you're not going to wait for the next one to come up because that could be a year or two. Let's take a look at census numbers on this. 98 universal and 17 restored to qualified, and a 6.5 puts on the top 35%. But look at, I mean, there are 3.92s, 3.90s, and it's just like there aren't many in any grade. There's only 11 5.0s. That's the most. I mean, you have 3 6.5s and 6 6.0s. You have 3 1.8s and 5 1.5s. I mean, this book is a ghost. I've never really looked close into this book, but this is an extremely hard book to get, and that's why it's so fun to see this on an eBay sale. Some old friends coming up. Let's go to number 4. Amazing Spider-Man number 1, CGC 6.0, off-white to white. Graded pretty recently. 6.0 is a nice grade. Does show some wear. I'm going to guess this was cleaned, but what's going on there? Maybe not. Nothing you can do up there. Staples indented a little bit. Again, I don't know if you can really do anything with this. if there are any pressable defects. Nothing's jumping out at me from these scans. And you have a fairly fragile spine. So let's see what Amazing Spider-Man 1. This went for full asking price of $22,750. Amazing Spider-Man 1 in a 6.0. Why are we here? Here's the 6.0. Here's what's curious. What the hell happened here? A $6,900 sale on eBay just recently? This almost looks like it's not the same copy, is it? 433,456. This is the same copy. And it went a fixed price for $6,900. This makes 0 sense. Let me take a look. Right? The listing sold. I mean, 100% positive feedback, 3,300 items. One other person has this in their cart. Let's just take a quick look at eBay. eBay. Amazing Spider-Man 1 CGC 6.0. No, here. This is not the same copy. It's a more recently graded one for $20,000, which seems like a pretty decent price, and you might be able to get it for a few dollars lower there. Let's put our parameters just between 6,000 and 30,000. That'll limit it to other. So 20, and then one's up for auction. Starting bid at $13,599 that just came up. That is interesting. That's an old label. Maybe jump in on that if you want an ASM one. The 6.0. Restored. So let's look at sold. No, 22,750. I don't know where that other sale is coming from. I don't see that as an eBay sale. Let's go back to that. Let's click on that. Verify sale. We looked everywhere. No, that's odd. That's odd. Let me know what you think in the comments. There's plenty to talk about amongst these sales in this month's stuff, because I mean, it looked like it went through, but then you have, I don't know where. Let's look on GP analysis. Amazing Spider-Man number 1. Scroll down to the 6.0s. Yeah, no record of that sale, I don't think. 2 sales recently. No. That must be, I don't know what the heck happened there in Go Collect's database. Anybody want to take a guess? And this book just sold. The same book sold a year ago for $17,100. So potentially somebody made a $5,000 profit on it, because they got it at a really good price here. But that's $5,000 after fees, less than $5,000, but still $4,000. It's not bad. Let's go to number 3 on the list. Star Wars number 1 CGC 9.4 Signature Series. Now this sold for $29,999, full asking price from what I can tell. Signed by Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, David Prowse, Peter Mayhew, Stan Lee, Howard Chaykin, Roy Thomas, and Anthony Daniels. I guess you could crack this out and somehow get Harrison Ford to sign this, and George Lucas. But this is a one-of-one. I mean, I'm not even going to look at comps of this. Let's just see what Star Wars 1 and 9.4 goes for. Maybe like, what, $350? Yeah, $500. And a signature, there's not going to be, and there's nothing comparable to this. Like, you have all the creators. Yeah, there's nothing comparable. Yeah, Tom Palmer. Is Tom Palmer still alive? I don't think so. Tom Palmer. Comics. Yeah, he died in 2022. So R.I.P. Tom Palmer. But you got the writer and the penciler. Oh, actually, Tom Palmer did the cover. Did Chaykin do the entirety of the interior art? Yeah, mine says just Howard Chaykin art. There's nothing different on there. I don't have. I'd have to look. I have a raw copy around the house somewhere. But this is just. I mean, who? I mean, obviously, you can't get. You'd have to get Harrison Ford. I think Harrison Ford and George Lucas would cap this off. If you're a huge Star Wars fan, but you got to be a huge Star Wars fan. And I don't know if they do signings and, CGC witness stuff. James Earl Jones has passed, missed him. And obviously, Alec Guinness has been gone for a while. But I mean, and this was all signed between 2016 and 2018. I'm going to guess it's just very difficult to get Harrison Ford's signature, but why not try? That's just pretty cool. That is a cool collectible. If you're a Star Wars fan, and it's not something that I would necessarily want in my collection, but it's something that's just kind of cool to look at. That somebody went to the trouble to really take a high grade copy and have all of these people both involved in the film and the comic book sign it. Of course, Carrie Fisher no longer with us, and I think Peter Mayhew passed away, right? And obviously Stan Lee has passed away. So really cool collectible. Let's go to number 2 on the list. This is a 9.8 of X-Men 94. Recently graded, and not a white pager to boot. I don't think this is a favorite cover by Gil Kane. A lot of people just Count Nefaria looked like he's barfing out the X-Men. Nice copy. I mean, it's a 9.8, gorgeous copy. This sold for they asked for 38. My Comic Shop, guys, if you're gonna buy from My Comic Shop, go straight to their website. 34,320. And let's see where this sale stacks up in 9/8. 34,600. Yeah, right in line with 38, 31, 37. Not an unreasonable. It says full list, but let's go to GP Analysis and see what they, because it's a a 9.8, and as of yet there are no 9.9s. I don't think. Let's take a look at the census in a minute. Yeah, they have this at the 34,320. Yeah, that's what I have. They have, I think, a more accurate, but that's a pretty strong sale considering, where it's been this year. Strongest sale of the year. Let's just go back real quick to the Go Collect and look at the census. Just 45 9/8 out of 8,800 copies. Just 1 out of every 200 essentially is a 9.8. And then let's go to number 1 on the list, and it is, no surprise, Amazing Fantasy 15 CGC 4.0 Signature Series signed by Stan Lee. Looks like every bit the 4.0 with the classic Marvel chipping on the side. I don't think you're going to get a bump from that. It was graded way back in the day with an early cert number. So, signed by Stan Lee. So, Amazing Fantasy 15, cream to off-white, 4.0, a 4.0 blue label. All right, so this sold for $41,400. Blue label, about $31,000. So you're looking at about a $10,000 bump for the Stan Lee signature. And here we have the 4.0. That was probably not a Stan Lee signature at $8,000. Woof. I mean, 2021, and it's this same month. Is this the same book? Did they just? I think this is another Go Collect error. Yeah, this is the same book that we saw sold for $41,400, and they have a sale of $8,083. I don't know what's going on with Go Collect. I mean, if we look at here it is, 41,400 is the verified sale here. The same book. Is this the same book that sold in August for 41,000? It's hard to say. Anyway, let's just go to, yeah, the same one in, no, this is, again, but there's this like, here it is. No, I don't know. Here's the 46,000 X'd out, 41,400. About, I guess they took 10% off. But where does this sale come from? There's just, there's no record of this happening. I don't know what's going on with Go Collect. That is very fishy. So anyway, that's going to be the top 10 list. And that's actually, it's the top 12 eBay sales for September 2024. Some really cool books. So that Eerie Comics #1, which is impossible to find. We had our share of Amazing Fantasy 15s. We had that really cool Star Wars collectible and that really suspect sale of Superman #1. Let me know what you think of everything in the comments below. I'd like to thank you all for stopping by.